Alright guys and girls, you probably read the title. We're doing a video on to show how to fit our Buckwild kit in your AU or your BA Falcon, BF Falcon, obviously they're all the same. So that's pure what this video is, to run down on kind of just give you an idea. So it's a reference point, so you have to message us at night time and you're fitting stuff, time zones and things like that. So this will be your reference point to go to. So we'll just show you the brief things on what to do, where the chem plates go, how knuckles go, what things to kind of keep your eye out for. If we go, let's do it.
First off, praise to the Most High. Glorious, you are the ruler, it's in you that my hope lies. Faux God, no lie, no right, I don't play both sides. Been so down with the windows down, truth music blowing at the whip so loud, you repent when I roll by.
Alright, so you've got your car either on the hoist if you have a hoist, otherwise if you're on the ground. So the camber plates mount to, so your top arms right here, your camber plates bolt in here, right there, your two of them. Also known thing to, some people have mounted them upside down, so you just got to make sure that that little section is up the top. So exactly like the factory ones. So the factory ones will just simply unbolt from the inside. 2 bolts on each camber plate, unbolt. Before you do that, unbolt this here, which is 18mm. You get that off and you set it to the side. You can do the camber plate. So if you're just doing the camber plate, that's all you got to do on either side. Note, the passenger side is a lot more difficult just because there's more things. If you've got a non-turbo Falcon, the driver's side's the easy side because there's nothing there basically, unless you have gas on your Falcon. Makes it more tricky. That's it for the camber plates. Obviously they just go back in the factory spot, bolt up with the original bolts. We'll drop to a vid with us fitting them just the other day. Alright, so obviously your wheel's off because you're probably doing the camber plate. You want to get I normally leave, if you've got a bolt-on spacer, already, and you haven't done it, I normally leave the spacer on until you have all the brake calipers off. So everything's still literally hooked up. Under the brake calipers, I always undo just the bottom bolt. That way you can spin the caliper up, slide it out of that top one, remove the brake pads, and then proceed to do the two 15mm bolts behind, which is these ones up here, that hold the whole caliper bracket on. So you undo that after everything. It's a lot easier. A lot of people just undo that, but then you're trying to slide it all back on and it gets messy. So you want to do that. Once that's all off, take your spacer off. If you haven't, take the rotor off, and basically once that's all off, you're pretty much in the clear. You can pop that bolt out there, and then you want to well, even before you do that, actually, before you do that bolt, you want to undo this bolt here. Don't mind, this was a Matsuri repair because this was stripping. Undo this, hammer that off, get that off. Then you want to pop the top one out so it's loose, and the whole arm can swing out. And that's when you want to undo the big bolt on the main ball joint. And then obviously you want to hammer that off. You never obviously hit the ball joint itself, you hit on the side. You can probably see there's quite a bit of damage from hitting because they've been removed a few times. And that's how you pop it out. And then once you've got the whole thing out, with the new knuckle that you would have gotten, we have to swap the wheel bearings. Now note, a lot of the times the wheel bearings are dead on your original ones. You need to get new ones sometimes, but I always give it a go. See if you can pop this cap off here, get the big bolt, undo the big bolt. Normally you need a rattle gun for that because it's so hard to undo. So, I mean, if you don't have a rattle gun, you probably want to undo this on the car. That way it's all stable. So get the wheel bearing off, slip it simply straight into the new one, put the cap back on, and basically just reverse everything back. So I always put the big nut on first, tighten that all up, then I put this top arm in here, bolt that all up, and then I normally put the rack end on, tie rod end on after I've sat the brakes on, rotor on, wheel spacer on, brake caliper, slip that all on, and then the tie rod end and rack end, stuff like that, which I'll show you what we have to do, because you've got to put the longer ones in just on the passenger side, guys. So I'll show you that. Alright guys, so we are under the car. You've got your knuckles in, everything's back on. Basically the last thing you want is this, so you don't put this on just yet. Now you've got, with the options, with the Buckwire kit, we supply you a longer rack end, which is sweet. So you simply just take the old one out. You don't put any washers in or anything with the longer rack end, which only goes on the left hand side. So longer rack end only on the left, because the rack is actually offset. However, if you don't and you just get the washer options, we supply the 3 washers, which go in just there. Simply 3 washers there. I know it seems a bit home job, but it's just what's required. And getting people in Australia to make you washers the exact spec you want is not an easy thing. They're just a bit lazy, but that's a side note. But 3 washers, passenger side or longer rack end. On there, you tighten up. You can use Loctite if you want. Generally, the rack end itself has like a weird cut on it, so it actually doesn't really come loose. So you don't have to worry that much about it, but it definitely needs to be very tight. And then as we move over to the driver's side, same thing. You better put all, your knuckle and all that in. You've got that out, and on the driver's side, we supply you 2 washers, and you reuse your factory rack end. And that's all you need to do on the driver's side. So the right hand side, 2 washers, good to go. Now it will adjust quite at the end of its thread. So if you can see here, there it's pretty far in. So, extended pretty far out. So yeah, what you want to do is set your steering wheel straight when you're doing it. Now when it's on the ground, even with the camber and all that, normally with the mounted suspension droop, you set the wheels pretty damn straight. But you look down and you try and get them straight, towing out heaps. You will do that once you do the wheelie, but you want it fairly straight. So if it looks like it's straight, it's probably towing in. It needs to look slightly towing out. So hope that helps you with that. We'll throw in some photos of all the suspension stuff that you should get. And we might just throw in a couple extra photos with detailed descriptions. What it is. But obviously in the kit you get the whole instructions and things like that. But this is just kind of the go-to to check what you need. So hope this will help you guys. Look, if you don't get what I'm saying, you probably shouldn't be fitting this in. So I mean, people could die if you don't put things in properly and they're loose. So you don't want to be responsible for that. So definitely you need to make sure you know what you're doing and bolts are tight, and not 10 of your mates fitting and drinking beers, because you could crash and that won't be a good time, because we want people to still driving. Alright guys, so I'm just going to add a little bit to it. When you've put everything in and you're like, I'm happy with the alignment, blah blah blah, you need to remember this, that when the car's in the air, the travel won't completely touch here. So once the car's on the ground, you need to make sure that this touches the bolt to make sure you've got full travel. So now that it's in the air, it won't go anymore, because there is droop. So they've got a little bit of bumps here. So if in the air it doesn't touch fully, don't be worried, that's normal. Once it's on the ground, you basically get someone in the car, go full lock, and then make sure they drive and go full lock to check. And then you can normally see from coming through the side whether the tie rod end is touching the bolt there. And also another thing, make sure that the suspension bolt, the flat side is on this side and this thread hangs out on this side, because otherwise your locks are to go to there. So as I just mentioned, when you're doing the driver's side, obviously the bolts are right here. You got 1, 2 here, 1, 2 here. This is the easy side. So I normally start with the difficult side before I jump to that, because by the end of that you're kind of over it. If you do it the other way around, you're really over it and you leave them loose. That's what you need to know. Alright, little Johnny has just completed his Year 5 assignment, the ecosystem of the AU enhancement, also known as the Buckwire lock kit from AU House. You've probably purchased this and that's why you're watching this, but here we have the Knuckle for that extra lock. We have the spacers to clear the wheel for that extra lock. We have the camber plates for, you guessed it, camber. And here we have the beautiful long rack end that you fit on the left hand side. And here we also have some spacers, washers, to go on the right hand side rack end to space it out accordingly. Hope this helps you guys. Cheers.